ways you can work around things to improve things, and it just seems like they're not trying to do that.
I think they're a good unit, obviously led by Victor Wembanyama.
Experience as a good head coach, like in the past 12 years ago when they won the Super Bowl.
B2-38 in an absolute thriller. Play after play. Touchdown after touchdown.
My family was just in complete disappointment.
Wanted to be a Philly, which is insane.
We saw the big thing after we first drafted him was that three-point shot. Obviously, he's draining that down, so we can't even really complain.
My team, so it's been really cool.
I'm definitely not a special guest. I'm a guest on a special podcast. That's what it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another edition here of Two Mics All Sports. I'm your host, Zachary Chavy. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you my NBA mock draft. Happy NBA draft day. Obviously, we had some massive moves over last night, so I decided to wait to do my mock draft, my one and only, today before the draft, and just give my thoughts on where I have everyone going. It's an interesting draft this year. Very prospect loaded. It's one of the best draft classes we've seen in a while. It's, like I said, it's very loaded at the top, and there's some great guys you can get throughout this draft, between the 13 and 20 range, and just overall this draft is going to be very exciting to see not only where these players go, but how they pan out in their first year in the NBA. And it starts here one with the Washington Wizards. Obviously, Dybantsa has been the consensus guy for them kind of throughout this entire process here. I mean, Dybantsa is one of the best players. He was amazing with BYU last year. He's a 5-level scorer. He can do it wherever you need him to do it. 25 and a half points per game last season for him at a 6'9", 217, only still 19 years old. He's an explosive threat that would fit perfectly into this Wizards offense that consists of Anthony Davis, newly signed Trae Young for a 4-year, $212 million contract, Alex Sarr, Bilal Coulibaly, Trey Johnson. He fit perfectly into this young core. And I think, obviously, also, before I give my pick, Darren Peterson has been thrown out only because he's only met with the Washington Wizards because his camp thinks he should go number 1 overall, which I think makes a lot of sense. He's a great player. He fit great in the Wizards offense, but at the same time, with them re-signing Trae Young a few days ago, I think it makes all the sense in the world to stick Dybantsa at that small forward position and just let him play with this team. And the Wizards could be much more competitive next year and possibly be a player-owned team. So I have Dybantsa landing with the Washington Wizards number 1 overall. Now, moving over to the Utah Jazz at number 2, a very interesting position here. Obviously, a lot of people have had him mocked to Darren Peterson. I think it makes a lot of sense in the world. He fits great there in Utah, in that offense as a whole. If they keep Lauri Markkanen, already have Jaren Jackson, Walker Kessler, just continuing that young nucleus that they're trying to build in Utah with the mix and sprinkle of veteran experience there. Although, I think they like Peterson a lot. I don't think they're going to stay here. Danny Ainge, he's the type of guy, he usually likes to make his trades early on or make them before the draft. And this is going to be a different scenario. I think Danny Ainge is going to make a draft trade tonight, trade the number 2 overall pick to the Chicago Bulls, and they're going to swap picks there. I think it makes all the sense in the world. I mean, at the same time, the way you look at things, this is the way you got to look at it, because Utah, they are in a position to draft Darren Peterson, but at the same time, I think they are fine with Keyonte George. And think about it, Keyonte George and Darren Peterson also have the same agents, and Keyonte George is going to be up. His rookie contract is almost up, so he wants to get a bag sooner or later. And I think Darren Peterson, like I said, would be a great fit in Utah. But at the same time, I just think it's not. I don't think it would pan out. That's just how I feel. I think him getting traded, it make more sense in the world. And for Chicago's position, now you look at them, if they were able to acquire this pick, they have some guards. They have Josh Giddey, Colin Sexton, Anthony Simons, and they have Rob Dillingham. They have an influx of guards, but if you think about it, when it comes to their premium positions, you got Montas Buzelis at the small forward. Obviously, they just acquired Nicholas Claxton last night, which I like that trade a lot for them. Get him at the center position, get a true center there in that offense, and then building the rest of the lineup out with Sexton, Simons. Simons is Simons can play small forward if you need him to. If not, you can show him at the shooting guard or have Sexton come off the bench. I just think there's more in Darren Peterson if the Bulls were able to trade up. Them getting their Derrick Rose once again, the go-to point guard that can score buckets, facilitate the offense. I think it makes all the sense in the world. And Darren Peterson landing in Chicago, I think, would be a match made in heaven if the Chicago Bulls were able to pull off this trade with the Jazz. Now moving on to the third pick. I don't see any movement here. I think it's going to be a slam dunk pick for the Memphis Grizzlies. I ain't going to even talk about anybody else. It's going to be Cam Boozer. I think it's going to be Cam Boozer because obviously still John Morant is still in the fold. You have other players like Gigi Jackson, Zach Edey, but they just get Cam Boozer at the 4 or at the 3 in this offense if they keep everybody. This offense is going to fire a lot more. Obviously, they traded Jaren Jackson. Here's your Jaren Jackson replacement right here. Younger, a more dual threat guy, a guy who can shoot it, knock down the mid-range, attack the paint. He just fits a lot in this Memphis offense, and I think Cam Boozer, he's the type of guy. Like I said, this class is led by the freshmen, just like last year's was. Honestly, this one is led even more because all these guys, how big they were coming out of high school, now where they are here. I think Cam Boozer in this offense next to John Morant, the open space if they end up keeping John Morant, to have Cam Boozer as a second scorer next to him is going to be huge. And then the work him and Zach Edey will be able to do down in the paint, I think, will pay huge dividends for Memphis and just have them overall improve for next year. So I have Cam Boozer landing number 3 with the Memphis Grizzlies. When it comes to number 4 now, they picked that the Utah Jazz acquired in the trade from the Chicago Bulls. Obviously, there's a few guys out here: Caleb Wilson, Keem Wangler, Darius Acuff Jr. I think for the Utah Jazz, if they're able to make this trade and get the proper compensation, obviously what I traded there, they get a lot more for it. I just did it so it could go through. But in the case of the Utah Jazz, I think with this pick, if they trade it, it has to be Keaton Wangler. Obviously, they have Keontae George, but to get Keaton Wangler, a shooter from Illinois last year, he'd be great in this offense. And he's the type of guy that can slash, attack, but also can shoot it when you need him to. And he's that type of guy. Averaged 17.9, but he does so much more than just scoring. Had a decent field goal percentage, and Illinois was one of those teams last year. They kind of fell on the radar, but Keaton Wangler was the guy that always stayed in the eyes of the fans. And I think Keaton Wangler, if Utah does trade this pick, he'd be a perfect fit with them next to Keontae George, Jaren Jackson. If they keep Larry Markkinen, Walker Kessler, just the influx of young guys with the sprinkle of veterans. I think if Utah is trying to build that, Keaton Wangler is the right way to go. Now, when it comes to the Clippers at number 5, this is where it's very interesting. I think, obviously, you have Kawhi Leonard, the big question there. Do they keep him? What happens with him, obviously, with all these allegations and stuff like that? If they do trade him, does it all come out, or do they keep him and it still comes out? Either way, the Clippers are in a tough position. Obviously, they're very blessed that they got this pick for the Ivica Zubac trade, so that's huge for them. Just looking the way the position they are in right now, obviously, Kawhi Leonard, Darius Garland, John Collins, Brendan McMathurin, and then you have other guys down there. It's an interesting position because it's like having Darius Garland and Brendan McMathurin from the trades you made are pretty good, and there's still guys that are relatively, Brendan McMathurin, still pretty young, and Darius Garland as well. And I just think, obviously, like I said, it starts and finishes with Kawhi Leonard. What they do with him can decide everything. And the position they are right now, there's a few guys here. Obviously, you have Caleb Wilson. How he would fit there, it would be very interesting. Then you also got Darius Acuff. He's been thrown out a lot, but then what do you do with Darius Garland and all that kind of stuff? I think even if you draft Acuff, you can still keep those two and have a good backcourt. But I think what they're going to do, since they are in the position they are in right now, I think with the 6th overall pick, don't be surprised if they trade this, but I think they're going to go with a guy in Nate Ahmet. I think Nate Ahmet, 6'10" guy from Tennessee last year, he was great in high school, and now coming into the college, he was great for Tennessee this past season. He's a 6'10" small forward / power forward, and with the question of Kawhi Leonard, if they trade him or not, getting a guy in Nate Ahmet on the court, either as your 3 or as your 4, then having Brendan McMathurin and Darius Garland building out the rest of your team, I think it would make a lot of sense in the world. And I think Nate Ahmet, not the highest shooting percentage, but at the same time, he's the type of guy that can attack in the paint. 6'10", he's going to get those opportunities just to develop. And especially if they trade Kawhi Leonard, not much pressure on the Clippers to compete. And Nate Ahmet with Darius Garland and Brendan McMathurin, I think, would be great and just continue to build that foundation the Clippers would be building if they were to trade Kawhi Leonard. Now moving on to the 6th overall pick with the Brooklyn Nets. Obviously, it says Nick Claxton's here, but he was traded last night to the Chicago Bulls. Them went here the 6th overall pick. I think it's very interesting because also they traded Nick Claxton, but they acquired Julius Randle. So now they have Michael Porter Jr., Julius Randle, Igor Demon. They have guys there, a bunch of guys they drafted from last year and where those positions fit. And obviously they made 5 draft picks last year with Nolan Traoli, Drake Powell, Danny Wolf, and Igor Demon. I mean, it's very interesting. I see what they do here because obviously there's a lot of guys here that make a lot of sense and would be interesting. I think Caleb Wilson could be a guy. I just don't think with them acquiring Julius Randle and already having Michael Porter Jr., it would make a lot of sense. The point guards, there's a lot I like here between Mikal Brown Jr., Kingston Flemings, and Darius Akoff. I think I'm going to have Akoff go next to the Kings. So I have between Kingston and Mikal Brown Jr. I think they're going to keep the taller size guys when it comes to their positions. I think Mikal Brown Jr. from Louisville would make all the sense in the world. They need a point guard because obviously Igor Demon can be their point guard, but I think he could be more naturally a shooting guard in this offense when it's running at all bases. But getting Mikal Brown Jr. here, I think he could be the steal of the draft tonight. Just how he's able to play, his attack, a facilitator as a point guard already, how that's going to transition into the NBA should be interesting. But I think Mikal Brown Jr. to the Brooklyn Nets would make a lot of sense for both parties. And I think he'd be able to develop there, and the Brooklyn Nets finally could see a trajectory up from building this core. Now, when it comes to the Sacramento Kings, I already kind of previewed it. I don't think Zach LaVine is going to be on this team at the start of next year. I wouldn't be surprised if Domantas Sabonis is or DeMar DeRozan. But I think Darius Akoff is the guy that gets the butts in seats. He is an absolute superstar in the making. He, like I said, he could be great. Like I said with the last pick, I think he could be the steal of the draft. But I also think Darius Akoff could be the guy in this draft where you're looking back and you're like, wow, he went as low as he's going to be a top 10 pick without a doubt. Where he falls is just the question. But if people are going to be saying like, wow, he went outside of the top 5, which I think I could see happening, and we'll see what happens there. But I think Darius Akoff is the guy who gets the butts and seats in Sacramento, and the Kings finally have their point guard once again after trading De'Aaron Fox a few years ago. And Darius Akoff is just a special kind of point guard that can do everything for you and can fit in this Sacramento Kings offense and be their guy for years to come. Now, when it comes to the Atlanta Hawks, obviously they just gave CJ McCollum a new 1-year contract to keep him around. They have Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels, Onyeka Okongwu, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Zachary Richardson. What they want to do with him, obviously, number 1 overall pick, hasn't been able to pan out so far, and we'll see how things go here. Obviously, I still have Caleb Wilson on the board. I think the way I just see Caleb Wilson, he's just not really fitting the position I think those teams are in, hence why I don't have him going where he goes. But with the Atlanta Hawks here, I think when it comes down to it, I think the Hawks, they're in a position that they could take a lot of guys here. I think, in my honest opinion, yes, they just paid CJ McCollum, but they need some reassurance for next year, and that reassurance is Kingston Flemings. Kingston Flemings can come off the bench this year, not have much pressure on him coming into the league, and coming off the bench here for a really good Hawks team, learn a lot from CJ McCollum, then take the reins the following year. So I think Kingston Flemings and this Hawks offense, he's just your true point guard. He's a 6'3", 19 years old, 47.6% from the field last year, but 16.1 points per game, 5.2 assists, and 4.1 rebounds. He's honestly your model point guard in today's NBA, or not model in today's NBA, but one of the guys that does the needs of what a point guard does in today's NBA. And I think Kingston Flemings coming off the bench here in Atlanta, not much pressure. I think this would make all the sense in the world. Now, when it comes to number 9 here with the Dallas Mavericks, it's very interesting. It is very interesting. I think obviously they just hired, not yesterday, but the day before, I think it was yesterday, Michigan's former head coach, Dustin May, to be their head coach, the national championship winner. So obviously, you start looking Yaxel or Adane Mara, if they want to take one of those 2 guys, Michigan guys. Caleb Wilson's still here. I don't know. It's tough. I just don't really see him fitting in anywhere else right now. People could disagree with me. I just think the way these teams are set up right now, Caleb Wilson and what he does would fit in other places that the teams that are in positions right now wouldn't. So But in the position here of the Dallas Mavericks, obviously it starts and finishes with Cooper Flag, the reigning Rookie of the Year. Kyrie Irving, if coming back from injury, if he comes back, it seems like he is as of right now. What they do with PJ Washington's big contract, Daniel Gafford. They have not the great, and then obviously Derek Lively. They don't have the greatest contracts, some of them on here. And then obviously Chris Middleton, but he's a free agent, so I wouldn't be surprised if they don't bring him back. And obviously Klay Thompson, but you see PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford. I think both those contracts there could be expendable here, but I talked about it here. I think Michigan is going to be the way to go. Dustin May loves his guys, and I think Yaxel, Hiedenbarg, sorry if I mispronounced his last name, I think he'd be a perfect fit in Dallas. Put him at the 4 next to Derek Lively, and he's the type of guy, 15.1 points per game. He is the perfect guy that you let him develop next to this young core. And you have a starting lineup of Kyrie, whoever you want to throw. If I guess you throw maybe Cooper at the 2, and then PJ Washington, Yaxel, and Derek Lively. That's a pretty good starting lineup. It's one on the taller side too. And I really think it would be interesting to see. Obviously, Yaxel played all 4 years in college, a 22-year-old senior now. We'll see where things go, but he has the experience to play, and I think getting that in there with the Dallas Mavericks makes all the sense in the world. Now, with the Milwaukee Bucks, obviously the big thing here, Giannis no longer part of the core here. He's traded to the Miami Heat, a massive trade here. They traded him to the Miami Heat, but got Tyler Hero back, Khalil Ware, Jusperis Yakinshonis, and Jaime Jaquez Jr. here. Now they're in the position they are in now, and they also traded Bobby Portis, hence why I think they could go with Dane Moore here, but don't forget, I think Dane Moore could also slip to their next pick that they got from Miami, the 13th overall. So, but the position I think they are in now, after the players they acquired, I think this is where it's interesting. It really is. Because obviously you have a lot of guys here. Braden Burries, I think he is really good. He can light it up from the 3-point line. Caleb Wilson, I still have him falling here. Like I said, I don't think the position these teams are right now, him fitting in there would make all the sense, make too much sense. So, but the way I see things right now, I think that the Milwaukee Bucks are going to go with Braden Burries. Obviously, they got Tyler Hero in the deal, but it seems like they're trying to ship him off for more, which would make a lot of sense because although Tyler Hero is still relatively young, trading him and getting more draft picks would make more sense for Milwaukee, and then drafting Braden Burries because of that. We'll see tonight. If they draft him tonight, I wouldn't be surprised if Tyler Hero's on the move, but I think Braden Burries, number 10 overall to Milwaukee Bucks, makes a lot of sense, and the way that things are right now, if they trade Tyler Hero, they need that go-to scorer, obviously, because Jaime Jaquez and Khalil Ware, they're both good, but they are still trying to find themselves, at least Khalil Ware, since Jaime Jaquez can be a scorer, but it's tough to say what you really want to see with him. But Braden Burries, I think if they draft him, Tyler Hero could be on the move, but they also feel pretty reassured with Braden Burries and then the influx of draft picks that they're going to have for years to come. Now with the Golden State Warriors, obviously they were a team that was mocked a little bit here to the Giannis sweepstakes, but that was more last offseason than compared to this offseason. Obviously Curry getting up there in age, Jimmy coming off an injury. They still have Kristaps, they might let him go. Draymond Green, just an older roster. I think this is where the slip falls. He doesn't go anywhere past here. I think it's going to be Caleb Wilson. If he can fall to this point, the Warriors will be celebrating, man. He is a guy that if he slips this far, obviously, like I said, I just don't think the way the positions the other teams are, it would make a lot of sense for him to draft him and where they could necessarily fit him in. And I think Caleb Wilson going to the Golden State Warriors, slipping here, would be a blessing in disguise, and he'd be great in this Warriors offense. Now moving towards number 12 in the draft, the Oklahoma City Thunder obviously just traded Aaron Wiggins a few days ago to the Atlanta Hawks to take off some cap space. What they do with Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren will be interesting. Obviously, Isaiah Hartenstein, he has 1 year still left on his contract, and will they just let him walk after next season? Now in the position they are in now, obviously there's a few guys here that they could like here. I think immediately I like them could take a swing on a guy like Jaden Quains here. I know that's a little bit high, but the Thunder are kind of in the positions where I think they could do something like that. Dane Mora, Haynes stacking back, LeBaron Philon, and then Kamir Lopez. I think they're going to take the guy out of New Zealand, Kamir Lopez. I think he's the type of guy, stats not coming up here, but he was the type of guy, I don't know, I'll be honest, I don't know much about him, but just to see the way his Bell looks like that, and they've done this thing before, but I think getting a guy like here, coming him off the bench, I know they could be going for a more proven guy out of college, but I think the Thunder, they scout pretty well, and a guy like Lopez would fit perfectly. Now with the Bucks' second pick, I think this is where they take a Dane Moore. Obviously, they traded Bobby Portis in that deal. Miles Turner's there, but do they even keep him at this point? Because he went there to try to compete, and it ain't gonna happen and it's not gonna happen like he imagined. So I think a Dane Moore and Braden Burries, plus if they're able to get more for Tyler Hero if they ship him off in a separate deal, Milwaukee be very happy with their draft. Now moving to number 14 overall here with the Charlotte Hornets, as we're closely slipping out of the lottery now. With the Hornets at 14 overall, obviously LaMelo Ball, obviously Colin Knippel was amazing as a rookie for them last year. They have other guys like Kobe White they acquired, Brandon Miller, and they also have Musa Diabate. So I think it's interesting. Obviously Charlotte had a higher, like they did better than years past last year, and it was an improvement season as a whole that didn't end in a playoff appearance, but still plenty to look forward to coming into this season. Now the position they are in now, I think there's a few guys in here that they could like. I think Chris Kannick Jr. from Houston could be a guy, LeBaron Philon if they want to run him off the bench. But having Kobe White already, I think they need to re-sign him without a doubt. Hence, I'm going to go with Chris Kannick Jr. out of Houston to go here for Charlotte. Obviously, they have Musa Diabate, they have Miles Bridges, but do they trade Miles Bridges to acquire another good player in this team? Either way, well, I think Chris Kannick Jr. makes a lot of sense. Now to Utah with the pick they acquired in that trade. Obviously, I had them taking Keaton Wangler with that 4th overall pick when they swapped with the Chicago Bulls. Now with the position they are in now, obviously, you just kind of look at their team. Do they keep Lauri Markkanen? Do they? I think they're not going to keep Lauri Markkanen. And obviously, Jaren Jackson, Walker Kessler, both guys can play the small forward and the power forward and the center. So, but I think in the position they are in right now, I think the type of guy they're going to be looking for is a guy that can just honestly play between the 3 and the 4, maybe even the 2. And I think, honestly, the position they are in right now, I had them taking Keaton Wangler here. Now with the other pick they have, I could see them taking Hannon's second back out of Washington. He's the type of guy, 18.5 points per game last year, pretty high shooting at 57.7%, 6'10" guy, power forward / center, but you can maybe even play him at the 3 if you want to test that out. Or if you trade Lauri Markkanen and that opens up the space to maybe run, like you could run a massive lineup here with him, Jaren Jackson, Walker Kessler. That's the type of stuff Utah could experiment with because the influx of players they have, but I think taking him here would make a lot of sense. Now with the Memphis Grizzlies, already took Cam Boozer here with the 3rd overall pick. This is the pick they acquired from the Phoenix Suns. I think it's very interesting. You got Cam Boozer with that 3rd pick. Then you look at the rest of the team. Obviously, Cam Boozer would slide right in there at the small forward. I think with this next pick, though, I think they have to take a guy and Braden Mullins. He was the type of guy in UConn last year that could shoot it. Obviously not the highest points per game, but he really could shoot it from the 3, and I think they kind of need that guy in this offense. Put him next to John Moran, have a good backcourt, then have Gigi Jackson, Cam Boozer, and Zach Edey. Then you're starting to build that foundation and hopefully getting back to winning basketball if you're Memphis. Now here with the Thunder at 17th overall, I don't think they're going to keep both picks. They don't have the salary cap, honestly, to keep both picks. So I think they're going to trade their 17th overall pick. I think that 17th overall pick is going to be traded here to I think it's interesting. There's a lot of teams out here that could just looking at the prospects as a whole. There's a lot of teams that could be interested here in the prospects and stuff like that. So, but I do have them trading the pick. I think they're going to trade the pick back a little bit. I think they're going to trade it to the Detroit Pistons. I think the Pistons could trade up here because there's still some guys on here that they could be very much interested in, I think. So, but yeah, I think I'm gonna have them trading to the Pistons. They'll move up a little bit here, and obviously the Pistons, I think they're gonna go get a more assured score. Could that be Tyler Hero? Could it not be? We'll find out either way. But I think with this 17th overall pick here, I think they're gonna take a guy. They're gonna take a swing on a guy like Jaden Quaidens. Obviously, Jalen Duren last year, obviously a lot of left to be. He left a lot to be desired. So that's interesting to say. It's always interesting that I guess that to say the least. But at the same time, with Jaden Quayton's, I think he's the type of guy. The Pistons, they're gonna go get a more reassuring scorer out of the trade market or even for agency. But getting a guy like Jaden Quayton's, putting him as the backup center, if you do end up trading Jalen Duren, or if you don't like, I think this gives you an opportunity to see what you have in Jalen Duren with a little bit of pressure put on him, and especially if Quayton's can show the potential that he has, then the Pistons can put themselves in a situation where, like, do we have a guy in Quayton's that we want to start for the foreseeable future, or do we just want to have him as a backup center? And if Jalen Duren can finally produce at the level they think that he can. Now with the Charlotte Hornets with another pick, obviously I had them taking Chris Kannick Jr. out of Houston. Now with their next pick here, I think they're going to take a guy in LeBaron Philon Jr. I think although they had Kobe White, I think Philon here, he could be very interesting. He's a guy last year with Alabama that just was a pure scorer. He was great in March Madness for them this past season, 51% from the field. He could be great there. Obviously, Kobe White coming off the bench, but also LeBaron Philon. It's always good to have backup point guard depth, especially with LaMelo Ball's health, and having a more true point guard in LeBaron Philon instead of running Kobe White there, I think, would be great for Charlotte. And like I said, it really depends on LaMelo's health status. Had a pretty relatively healthy season last year, but that could change this season. Now with the Toronto Raptors here at number 19, I think they're going to swing for a guy in Isaiah Evans out of Duke. Obviously, they have Emmanuel Quickley, but Isaiah at the point guard, they have Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, Jakob Poeltl, and R.J. Barrett. It's very interesting to see what they want to do here with all that because they have the influx of 3-4s. Isaiah Evans, though, I think they could slot him in at the shooting guard, have a pure shooting guard next to Emmanuel Quickley if Quickley can stay healthy, and then you have a backcourt that's relatively good, and Isaiah Evans 6'6". I believe he's taller than Emmanuel Quickley, but still, besides the point. Like, having two guys that could slash and get to the paint as your backcourt would be great, influxing with the small forward depth of Brandon Ingram, R.J. Barrett, and Scotty Barnes. I think Isaiah Evans would make a lot of sense here to the Raptors. Now it's San Antonio here at number 20 overall. Obviously, I do not have them taking a point guard. They don't need a point guard. They should be trading De'Aaron Fox this offseason. I've made that very clear. And they have Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle. I think here with the 20th overall pick, they're going to swing for a guy in Koa Peep. He could eventually be the power forward next to Victor Wembanyama. Just imagine that. That could be absolutely insane. But now see what he can do off the bench. Obviously, he was great for Arizona last year, leading them to a national championship appearance, eventually losing to Michigan, but still he was great throughout the tournament last year. And for Arizona as a whole, getting him on this team I think would be great. And Koa Pete, having him develop with San Antonio and eventually being a power forward next to Victor Wembanyama, my goodness, that could be absolutely insane. Now with the Thunder and the pick they acquired here, I think they're going to trade back even more. I think the Thunder are going to only make one pick in this first round. And I had them trading their pick to the Denver Nuggets here. I think the Nuggets are going to have to trade up here. I think the Nuggets are going to have to trade up here. Obviously, you have a guy in Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, and stuff like that. But I think the way they're looking at right now, the Nuggets, they are going to make some moves this offseason because another disappointing season, losing in the first round after having the championship appearance a few years ago. The position they are in now, I think they're going to trade up to get a guy in Christian Anderson out of Texas Tech. Or no, I'm actually going to go with a guy and I'm going to go with Cameron Carr out of Baylor. Yeah, I'm going to go with Cameron Carr out of Baylor. Obviously, they traded for Cameron Johnson last year from Brooklyn. Didn't turn out to be the best. But I think either way, I think Cameron Carr here, number 21 overall to the Nuggets, 18.9 points per game, 49% from the field. They need a guy that can shoot it, but also attack in the paint, create a shot. And I think Cameron Carr could do that with the Denver Nuggets if they can trade up for him. Now with the 76ers at number 22, they're in an interesting position. They kind of always are in an interesting position if you really want to think about it. But the position they are in right now, obviously Quentin Grimes and Kelly Oubre are both restricted free agents, so we'll see if they re-sign them. But I think with the players they have on their team here, I think they're going to go get a guy in Dalen Swain out of Texas. I think that's what they're going to do tonight. I think they're going to 6'7" guy, 211 out of Texas, 17.3 points per game last year. He could be great as the small forward, eventually maybe next to VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey, what they want to do down low in the power forward center position, what they eventually do with Paul George and Embiid. But I think Dalen Swain makes a lot of sense to to the Sixers. Now with the Hawks here at number 23 overall, the pick they got from Cleveland. I think they already took Kingston Flemings with their other pick. I think with this pick, they're going to take a guy in Morez Johnson Jr. out of Michigan. He's the type of guy that he could play the power forward position or even swing down to the center if you want him to. Obviously 6'9", 250, averaged 31.2 points per game, 62.3% field goal percentage. It's just the type of guy that you get him down in the paint, he's going to knock it down more often than not. And if you swing Jalen Johnson to the 4, you have a pretty tall, small forward, power forward duo right there. So I think Morris Johnson to the Hawks will make a lot of sense. Now with the Knicks, the reigning champions here and the position they are in right now, I don't see them making any drastic moves this offseason, but obviously Mitchell Robinson is a restricted free agent. Hence why I think they could be in the market here for a center. I think they're going to go with Arizona's guy, Mercedes Curvas. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, because I don't think they're going to be re-signing Mitchell Robinson this offseason. They're going to find a way to replace him one way or another, and I think they do it with this pick here. Now with the Lakers at the 25th overall pick, do they bring back Austin Reeves or does he get priced out of here? We'll see what happens. Obviously, the Brooklyn Nets have been thrown around, but with acquiring Julius Randle, do they do that anymore? We'll find out. But with the position the Lakers are in right now, LeBron, free agent, he's probably coming back. Luka Doncic. Rui, though, I think could be out the door, hence why I think they're going to be taking a guy in Allen Graves out of Santa Clara. He's an underrated guy here. I think he could be great here with the Lakers offense. And we've kind of seen him take guys under the radar and pan out pretty well. Obviously, Austin Reeves, one example to say the least, but I think Allen Graves to the Lakers. Let me just fix this real quick because I think, like I said, I think they're going to acquire I think the Thunder are going to make one more trade here. So, yeah. So with the Thunder, I think, like I said, they're going to be trading all night. They're going to make one pick without a doubt. But I think they'll eventually, after the trades, they won't be able to fall. They might be able to get out of the first round, but I don't know. We'll see either way. But I think they'll just make another pick here. Obviously, I talked about Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren. And they have Alex Caruso, Lou Dort. I think in the position the Thunder are in right now, you just kind of look at the draft as a whole, and it's interesting. It really is. I think they're going to be a type of team that takes a guy, and I'll go with Henry Vassar. Obviously, I talked about Isaiah Hartenstein. They might take a guy in Vassar out of North Carolina just because they don't know what they want to do with Hartenstein. Have him just be a guy that's center depth, and the Thunder can kind of make draft picks here eventually after they make their first one where they're just trying to build on their depth, and having Vassar in the building under a rookie scale contract just to let Isaiah Hartenstein walk, I think could make a lot of sense here for the Thunder. Now with the Boston Celtics, obviously a massive offseason just became even more big with them not being able to acquire Giannis, probably making Jaylen Brown very, very upset. And I think the way they are right now, I think they're going to be able to, what they're going to do with how everything's going, I think they're going to take a guy in Christian Anderson out of Texas Tech. He was great last year for the Red Raiders, and I think him in this offense as the true point guard. Do they bring back Derek White? Do they just promote Payne Pritchard? Either way, I think they need a true point guard in this offense because when they won their championship, they had one in Drew Holiday. Christian Anderson, I think, will be a perfect guy for them. Now the 28th overall pick, the Brooklyn Nets. They got this from the Detroit Pistons. They already took Mikel Brown Jr. with the 6th overall pick. I think with this next pick, they're going to take a guy in Amari Allen out of Alabama. I think he was all right last year for Bama. There's times he really showed up, but then obviously he was led by Phylon last year for the for the Crimson Tide. Apologies about that. And but we'll see how things go here. I think Brooklyn in the position, they already made 5 draft picks last year, trading for Julius Randle. They're kind of in a weird position right now. So I think they're just going to be taking players at positions that they think they'll eventually need. So now with the Cleveland Cavaliers here at number 30th overall, obviously a tough season for them last year. I think with this pick, though, obviously you have Donovan, Mobley, Mitchell, or Harden, Jared Allen. Like, you have the four core guys there, and then it's kind of like questions after that. I think they kind of need a true point guard coming off the bench, which I think they're going to go with Malik Thomas out of Arkansas. He was great last year for Arkansas, averaging 15.6 points per game last year, 43% from the field. I think in this offense with Cleveland coming off the bench could do wonders for him and honestly help them out a lot. Now with the 30th overall pick here with the Dallas Mavericks, I think it could be interesting what they do here. Obviously, they took Yaxel with the 9th overall pick here, but we'll see what they do here. It's going to be interesting, I think, to say the least. But with this last pick here in the first round, I think with this pick, obviously Kyrie Irving, I think they're going to take a backup point guard to back him up, and I think that is going to be Bennett Stritz out of Iowa. Type of guy that really could shoot it last year. Honestly, was a guy that was kind of underrated, but could light it up any night for the Hawkeyes. But I think they're going to take Bennett Stritz out of Iowa. But this is all I have for you guys as my first round mock draft. If you guys disagree with any picks or you think other trades could happen in different positions, let me know down in the comments below. But I will talk to you guys later. I might be live streaming later tonight. I don't know either way. But either way, just make sure to check out the channel. Either way. Other than that, I will talk to you guys later. Enjoy the rest of your day and peace out.